Hello guys, welcome to another video of our React tutorial series. In this video we are diving into state management in React. We're going to see what we mean by state, local state and global state, and everything we need to know about state management. We all know that every app needs to manage data, whether it's the text in an input box, the item in a cart, or a user login status. In React, we use something called state to handle all of this data. We also know that as our app grows, managing this state becomes very tricky. We have a lot of data to manage, a lot of users to manage, and all of that. So that is why we're coming into state management for this module. So what is state in React? In simple terms, state is just data that your component can remember and update. We usually use state hook for all of that. When we create a state like user data, we use the user data to manipulate our component. So anything or any data that our component uses or depends on is actually called state. Remember, state is different from normal variable you create. So when we talk about state, we talk about two different types of states. We have the local state and we have the global state. What do we mean by local state? Local state is the data managed within a single component. It lives and dies within that component. When we are creating a login page, we remember that we created a state to manage our input data. The state we created to manage our input data was created, managed, and it all died in that component. It was never passed to a different component. Here, from what we can see, you see a state called count and the set are called set count. This state is only useful inside a count component. Other components cannot access this state directly except it's being passed as props or any way you want to pass data from one component to another, but it cannot have access to this state apart from the counter component. So since we said only the counter component has access to the count state, what if other components rather wants to have access to this? This is where prop drilling comes in. We then need to pass in this data through as a prop to other components. But remember, props drilling gets messy as your application gets bigger. So let's move over to global state. What is a global state? When we talk about global state, so global state is data shared across many components. It's stored in one place and any component can read or update it. You can manage your global state using tools like useContext and your useReducer, which is of course inbuilt. And you can also use tools like Redux, Zostand, Recoil, and many other packages many other libraries you can install to your application. So here we're going to talk about when to use your local state and when to use your global state. Here I said use your local state for UI toggles, use your local state for form input, use your local state for component specific logic. If you want to hide a particular component and show the other component in a particular page, use your local state, of course, to get input. But then whenever you want to perform user authentication, you want to set up your theme, you want to set up your shopping cart data, or you want to set up your notification, it is always advisable to use your global state. And subsequently in our next video, we're going to look at different global state like the Redux and the Redux toolkit for React applications. So many persons often ask this question if it is advisable to mix both global state and local state in one application. Yes, in real application, you would likely use both local and global state in your application, in the sense that some applications you're going to have, just like we have here, some application you have notification, some application you have cart, and of course you still have to manage form input in that same application. That means you can use both the local state and the global state in one application. Summarily, we can say that states are dynamic data, right? And we also say that local state lives inside your component. They are created and they die in that component. Global state is shared across multiple components and each of those components can update and have access to those data. Finally, I advise that you choose wisely to keep your app clean, the kind of state to use, know when to use your local state, and know when to use your global state in your application. In the next video, we're going to look at the difference between a context API and the Redux. So context API will stand for our local state and the Redux will stand for our global state. We're going to compare them and see how they are being used in our application. See you guys in the next video, but before then, please like, comment, share, and drop your comment if you have any other question. Bye for now.